What's going on, Bulls Nation? Welcome into the CHGO Bulls Podcast. Coming to you live on Friday afternoon, getting you ready for your weekend. I'm Peck, Bulls_Peck, Big Dave, grooving to the tunes in the middle. Bam! BAWL Sports, Will the Go Gottlieb, also grooving. Will_Gottlieb. We got our guy Law on the draw.
I'm grooving.
Controls behind the scenes. Gentlemen, happy Friday. We got another Prove It. We're going to talk Ayo today. We got another Eastern Conference preview. We're going to talk Milwaukee Bucks today. How's everybody doing? Feeling good?
Feeling
very good. Ready to do this thing.
Ready to do this thing. Gentlemen, if you don't mind, I do have a shout out that I want to give right out of the gate so I don't forget. And it's happy news. First of all, thank you guys for holding down the show yesterday. Awesome that you guys had Terrence Oglesby back on. I love listening to that guy talk hoops. To all of our viewers who may have missed it, go give yesterday's episode a listen or a watch. The reason I was not on yesterday's show, and, you know, Will Purdue blew my cover a few weeks ago. I usually keep personal life and work life separate, but I do have a girlfriend I love very much. And right around the same time, y'all were starting your 4 o'clock show yesterday, I was sitting down at the Rosemont Theater Auditorium to watch her graduate. She just completed her BSN, Bachelor of Science in Nursing, at Chamberlain College of Nursing right here at their Chicago campus. She's been working very hard. And she had a bunch of different, I think they call them cords, you know, those like ropes that denote different achievements as you're a graduate walking across the stage. She got one for graduating cum laude. She got one for being in a leadership role with SNA, the Student Nurses Association. So I watched her graduate and was very proud. And then this morning, she found out that the NCLEX, which is like the, you know, nursing certification exam that everybody studies really hard for at the end of their nursing school, that she took earlier this week, she found out this morning that she passed and is now a certified RN and has already, over the last couple months, been doing, I don't know the technical term, but like nurse and training shifts. Her focus is in pediatrics. She's already working at Lurie Children's Hospital here in Chicago. And so in the last 24 hours, she graduated with her BSN degree and found out that she passed her test and is a certified RN. Very proud of her. Very glad that I got to cheer her on yesterday. You know, it takes all kinds in society. We sit here and bitch about the Bulls every day, and she's going to be out there, you know, helping sick kids and injured kids. And I am very proud of her. So I just wanted to acknowledge that.
Me too. Shout out. Congratulations. That is amazing. Incredible news about passing the test, too. I didn't realize that. So what a way to kick off the weekend.
Hell yeah.
Career.
I told her, I was like, I really want to do some flashcards with you at some point, darling. And then like the night before her test, we were hanging out together, just having a chill night. And we finally did some flashcards. And I could barely even pronounce most of the words that were written on these, you know, flashcards with all these medical terms and stuff. So good for her that she's doing that and not me.
That's right.
Now, as a nurse, I'm assuming she cares about you. And will she be asking you to eat more vegetables?
Oh, she's already working on that, Law. Already. When we were sitting there doing flashcards on Tuesday night, she made me eat a salad. I did put steak on that salad, but she was like, "Wow, you ate like almost all the vegetables."
Mm-hmm.
But
I'm so happy. Salad. I'm so happy to no longer have this job in this position,
right, Dave.
And has passed it on to somebody much more qualified than I am to do this.
That is true.
She's doing the Lord's work. Shout out to
shout out to Drew's in the comments saying nurses are true heroes. I agree. Nurses are underpaid, underappreciated. My girl has I think it's like a magnet on her fridge that says like, be nice to your nurses because they will see you naked someday. They got tough jobs. I'm glad she's doing it and not me. But it's also handy to have a registered nurse around because, you know, my Bears fandom is out of control right now, and I might accidentally hurt myself or someone else while watching a Bears game. So,
Or the graveyard of hats that you've committed homicide on.
That's true. I don't know if they treat hats. No, those you just send away. Okay, guys, let's talk some Ayo, shall we? I'm excited to talk about Ayo because of the, very difficult Bulls season we all just endured. Last season, I think he was one of my favorite bright spots, seeing him have that bounce back year after kind of a sophomore slump of a second season. And I was going through and looking at some of its stats from year 3. It was a career high 12.2 points per game. But I don't know if we acknowledged this at some point or we didn't, or it got swept under the rug. But Ayo shot 50, 40, 80 last season.
Right. Yeah, we talked about it a little bit.
Holy crap, man. Shout out to Ayo for that incredible season he had. So we'll talk about what we want to see next from him. And I think the biggest question, with a lot of little questions around it, guys, is what will his role be? Because last season, he played well regardless of starting or coming off the bench, and he basically was half and half. 76 games played, I think 37 starts. We believe, if our collective assumption is correct, that he's coming off the bench because they want to start the guy they just got in the trade, i.e. Josh Giddey. They want to start Kobe. They want to start Zach to showcase him. Obviously, Pat's back on a brand new contract, and Vooch is still your starting center. So, Goat, how do you envision Ayo's role, which will probably be fluctuating throughout the season, out of the gate for games, 1 through 10?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, Ayo was just outstanding last year. I do think it went a little underappreciated, but I was looking through some numbers today too. From January 13th on, I don't know why this was the arbitrary date that I picked out, but this is where I think his play started to hit another gear. From January 13th on, 16.3 points, 4.4 assists, 1.1 steals, 52.4% from the field, 43.5 on threes, 83.5 from the line in 35.5 minutes per game. So he's putting up big numbers in a starting role, playing more than, a lot of starters around the league. Guys are playing 33 to 35 minutes a game. He's doing even more than that. And so to answer the question, Matt, I think he's probably not going to start, but he's the kind of guy that every single team needs to be the do whatever you need guy. He'll come in and play 28, 30 minutes off the bench. He'll be a backup point guard. He can play off the ball. He can defend up. He can defend down. He can be point of attack. I think he's going to have to take on a lot of the Caruso defensive assignments. That is going to be something that the Bulls are really going to struggle with if Ayo, can't step up and really replicate a lot of what Caruso did, which was obviously not going to be an easy task. But I think he's set up for it because he learned from Caruso for the last several years and also is just really talented hounding ball handlers. I think he can be that point of attack defender that the Bulls really need. But I think offensively, he's going to continue to do exactly what he did before, which is step in and give his best in whatever role the team needs from him that night, because there's going to be nights where Lonzo's in, where he has a different role than when Lonzo's maybe out on a back-to-back and he can't play as much or has to move off ball a little bit more. There's going to be nights where the Bulls need to be a little bit more defensively oriented and Ayo has a bigger role. And there's going to be nights where they want him to just attack and transition, catch and shoot on closeouts and attack the basket. So I think he's just going to have to continue to do whatever is needed of him. And I think for this team next year, everybody kind of fits a role of Giddey, primary ball handler, Vooch, post facilitator, Kobe, spot up scorer, secondary ball handler, Zach, primary scorer, secondary ball handler. Ayo's really going to have to be the I can do a little bit of everything, because that's what's going to earn him minutes. He's obviously a big piece of this team moving forward, and I'm curious to see how things continue to progress with him. But he's just going to have to continue to do what he did last year and get better at it, because he really just everybody needs that sort of Swiss Army knife. Both sides of the ball can kind of do a little bit of everything guy.
77, 80, and 76. Those were the games that he played over his 3 seasons. 40, 51, 37. Those are the games that he started over those 3 seasons. 27, 26, and 29. Those were the minutes that he has played. I'm saying that to say it doesn't matter where you put him. He is going to shine. He is going to do his thing. He started the least amount of games last season, and he played the most minutes that he has in those 3 seasons. He had his best season in that season where he started the least. it didn't matter where you put Ayo. He had a couple of 30-point games also within that last season as well. We talked about the 50, 40, 80. It's just the improvement that he made over every single thing that he did last year. You wanted more field goal percentage to be better, went from 49 to 50. You wanted the 3-point percentage to be better, went from 31 to 40% from that 3-point line. You wanted the points to be better, went from 8 points that he averaged over his first 2 seasons to 12 points that he averaged. The steals went up just a tick from 0.8 to 0.9. You wanted the assist to be a little bit better. 2.6 to 3.2 is what he jumped to. Like, Ayo just surpassed it in pretty much every single metric. I mean, you want true shooting to improve, went from 56 to 60%. You want his 3-point rate to improve, from 33 to 41. Like, what did you want? He did everything you wanted him to do. You wanted the usage percentage. Let's see if the usage percentage can go up, even though you're coming off the bench, but you're playing more minutes. He went from 14 to 17. Like, everything increased for Ayo Dosunmu in a positive way for the Chicago Bulls. I think he became a pros pro in season 3. He was kind of like Will loves to talk about Alex Caruso because of, you know, what he can do defensively and how he can impact your team. Doesn't matter where and what position that he plays. Ayo is kind of like a junior to that, and someone who is just stepping into a role of, I am just an official NBA player. I don't care where you put me. What I love about his usage going up is there are no plays called for him. That means he's getting the ball and he's doing it himself. That's what that means. There's no play being run for Ayo Dosunmu out there, but guess what? He's going to get you 12 points anyway. It doesn't even matter. That is what is impressive and what I love about Ayo. There are no excuses within Ayo Dosunmu. He just wants solutions. That's it. And that's how he plays, and that's how he has always played. And I just expect that to continue and to grow and to continue to get better.
The one thing I want to add to this is, like, last year, I think at this time we were talking about who's going to start between Kobe and Javon Carter at the point guard. And I was kind of on the fringes of the conversation. You know, it was a little bit of a surprise that the Bulls even brought him back after signing Javon Carter, where he was going to be the guy that could fill in the Patrick Beverley role that worked so well for the Bulls. And obviously the season went the way that it did. But now you enter this season with Giddey now coming in as the point guard, Kobe moving to an off-ball role. You reinsert Zach into the lineup. He's got to shift up to the 3. And it's like, well, where does that leave Ayo? What we're not saying here is that Ayo does not belong in the conversation for any of this stuff. What we're not saying is that he is not a huge part of this team and their future, because he definitely is. I think what makes him really good and important to this team is that he can be the flexible one because of his skill set as a complementary player, where he can do just a little bit of everything. He can fill whatever role that you need. And so I'm not counting him out. Like, I think there's a real chance. Every year we've done this. We've said, like, can Ayo still be a part of the rotation? Should the Bulls even bring him back? Like, I don't want to do that anymore. I think Ayo is going to be a huge part of this team. Maybe it's as a starter. I don't know that would be the case just based on my assumptions about the roster. But, like, I'm not counting it out because he's just done everything the team has asked of him and more, and continues to get better. And I expect that for him, you know, this upcoming season and every season of his career, because that's just the kind of guy he is.
Yeah, Colin in the comments pointing out, you know, we talk about maybe the Bulls getting a steal with Modest falling to him at 11 in this year's draft, saying, Colin in the comments, I would be redrafted as a lottery pick, right? I mean, at pick 38. So, you know, for all of the various things that Bulls fans are unimpressed by when it comes to the track record of the front office, like, Ayo at 38, like, would he be a lottery pick if they redrafted that draft class? Maybe, maybe not. Kind of maybe fringe of the lottery. He's for sure a first round pick, not 38. Oh, I mean, I would say he's, you know, pretty confidently top 20 pick if they redrafted that draft class. And on top of that, as you just mentioned, Will, getting the Bulls getting Ayo on that contract they did, signing him, you know, late in the offseason on a new, you know, team-friendly 3-year deal. It's solid work from Ayo and solid work from the team to keep him here.
Yeah, I think there would be a real case for him, like, at the end of the lottery. I mean, this draft was stacked. You got Cade Cunningham, Jalen Green, Mobley, Scotty Barnes, Suggs, Giddey, Kuminga, Franz Wagner. That's the top 8. And then it falls off a little bit, but you've got Şengün, you've got Moses Moody, Trey Murphy, Jalen Johnson, a ton of really good, talented players. Day'Ron Sharpe is I think, going to have a breakout year. So there's a lot of good players, but I think you can make a case for Ayo at the back end of that lottery, mid-first round for sure.
All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we are going to hand out our Prove It goals for Ayo this upcoming 24-25 Bulls season. Stick around.
That is Baby Joey approved, ladies and gentlemen. Get ready for the season ahead with the quality shades that are built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have got you covered with those premium polarized shades that will not, I repeat, they will not break the bank. Shady Rays, that independent sunglasses company that's offering that world-class product that is rated 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Their shades have durable frames. Their shades have crystal clear optics, making them the perfect choice for your outdoor. And let's see if that gentleman over here to my left is about to prove your indoor Giones. They've got hundreds of options to choose from. So you're bound to find that perfect pair to match your style. And if you don't love those shades or that style, guess what? You can exchange it for a new pair or return worry-free within the 30 days. There's no risk when you shop. And their team always has your back with that personal and fast support. So exclusively for the listeners out there, Shady Rays is giving away their best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com, use the code CHGO, and get your beautiful self 35% off of those premium polarized shades. Try for yourself. Shades that are rated 5 stars for over 300,000 people because it's Shady Rays, y'all. What a raise. Are just so shady. Always ready.
Always ready. Today's show also brought to you by our friends at Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary. Our friends at Sunnyside are here to elevate the back end of your Chicago summer and into your Chicago fall. Sunnyside's your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping and have a crazy selection with over 100 different strains to choose from with easy online ordering and in-store pickup. Put the order in on your phone, on your desktop, wherever you want. Swing through, pick it up, get on your way to your next errand, or wherever you're going to start chilling with your fine products that you picked up from Sunnyside. Stop in the store nearest you throughout Illinois for expert guidance from their staff and select from quality lines like Cresco and Florical. Also, be sure to check out Good News Tea Time Disposable Vape, bringing classic lemonade flavor. That's perfect for the golf course because we all need a little help staying loose on the green. And man, plenty of good golfing weather that's still hanging around here in Chicago. Just in time for Bears football. Grab that free Spirit vape and cartridge. All new from Good News to make sure that halftime mellow sesh you need when the Bears are stressing you out takes care of you in the perfect way. With the lush mango flavor, these vapes are perfect for tapping into your flower power. Visit Sunnyside.shop for bright buys every day, including 50% off your first 3, count them, 3 online orders. Enter promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary. Bright buys every day. Only for 21 and over and Illinois Med card holders. Beer. All right, guys. So continuing our conversation with Ayo Dosunmu, coming off such an impressive season. Dave, you mentioned the couple of 30-point games he had towards the back end of last season. And I was curious because I felt like we really saw an uptick of those. You know, it was a couple of 30-point games, but 20 plus point games from Ayo down the stretch, especially like last season, the back half of the season, his offense just really picked up. And the Bulls needed it most nights. So I went and did his game log math really quick and tallied. He had 11 games in which Ayo scored 20 or more points last season on top of those 2 30-point games. Of those 13 total games where he scored 20 and then the 2 he scored 30, 12 of those 13 came on or after January 13th. So Ayo literally from January through the end of the season was just like every other night, like you need 20 points, here's 20 points. But I think to frame it looking forward into this season, are we going to see every other night Ayo Dosunmu pouring in 20 points? Is that a fair expectation based on all of the other factors that we're wondering about with Billy's rotation, who's getting minutes and who's getting shots? I don't know if it's realistic to see Ayo start the season with a stretch like that where he's putting up 20-point nights every other game. So when I thought about what I want to see from Ayo this season, I thought about something that he has proven to do that I really want him to continue to do because it's something the team needs. And then also see him improve in an area where he hasn't really taken any steps through his first 3 seasons. And it's an area where the Bulls could really need it. So let's start with this. You mentioned his games played through the first 3 years of his career, Dave. That's where I started. I did a similar thing with Zach for, reasons of like, hey, prove that you're healthy so we can trade you. With Ayo, it's whatever your role might be, and it will change night to night, most likely. Play 75 or more games this season. Mm-hmm. Continue to be the available Ayo that we have known you to be. Availability, one of the best abilities, right? That's what we always say. So continue to prove that you are that guy, that workhorse who's always available when called upon. And in the meantime, you were talking on our show, I think Wednesday ago, about the absence of DeMar DeRozan when it comes to the Bulls and free throw attempts this upcoming season. And we were talking about it with Kobe. And if Kobe can continue to increase his attempts getting to the free throw line. I was curious, so I went and looked at Ayo's. Ayo's free throw rate in his first 3 seasons, 0.146, 0.144, 0.146. So, AKA for every 10 field goal attempts that Ayo has, he takes 1.5 free throws. Comparatively, just so you can kind of get the terms of what we're talking about here, DeMar DeRozan last season, free throw rate, 0.452. He took a free throw almost every other time he took a field goal attempt. DeMar's career free throw rate, hilarious, 0.407. I want to see Ayo bring that 0.146 from last season above 0.2. So for every 10 field goal attempts you take, get to the free throw line 2 times. That's what I want to see from Ayo. I think it is achievable because I also was curious about Kobe and the way that we saw him be more aggressive last season. Kobe's 22-23 free throw rate was 0.118, which was actually a bit of a dip from his season prior. And he increased that this season from 0.118 to 0.215. Huge jump for Kobe in that free throw rate. We're not sure how many shots Ayo's going to get, but we know he likes to get out in transition, use his speed, and get to the rim. We've also seen that he's built up his frame a bit more and has some more muscle. Can you use that combination of strength and speed and your aggressiveness, probably pushing the pace a bit faster without DeMar this season for the Bulls offensively? Get to the line more, Ayo. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, I think that's a great one for all these players, right? Because when you talk about creating efficient offense, so much of that, like even just in the definition of true shooting percentage, which is an indicator of shooting efficiency, it takes into account 2s, 3s, and free throws. So I think that is a huge way that players can help improve their scoring efficiency. It helps the team as a whole because you're putting yourself in a position where you don't have to rely on shot making all the time. You can get to the free throw line. You can change the pace of the game. You can put the other team on their heels and make them have to adjust the way they're defending you due to foul trouble. So I think for all these young players, that's always going to be like the big step forward that they take in order to create efficient offense. And yeah, as much as like Zach coming back and Kobe having a chance to step up, I do think that there's still a big DeMar-shaped hole in the Bulls offense, and somebody's going to need to help fill that. I think the free throw line is a great place to do that for Ayo.
DeMar-shaped hole is going to be the song, the title of Kendrick Lamar's new song that drops.
But I also think that for that to happen, like that means there will also be a change somewhat in his game, because Ayo doesn't go up to get fouled. Ayo goes up to score. And Ayo is faster than everyone. You know what I mean? So he's trying to beat you down the floor. That's why he's always off that off-leg layup was a part of his game. You know, he's not trying to get that contact. You know what I mean? Like that. So if you see that, I think that means his game has changed a little bit, which is a good thing. I'm not saying that it's a negative. It's a good thing to get yourself to the free throw line and get easy points for yourself. That's what all the great scorers do. So if that occurs too, that just adds an awesome another wrinkle to his game for sure.
I think it just speaks generally to him getting into the paint. Like, I mean, DeMar, for example, he's getting fouled at the rim, but he's also getting fouled on jump shots. And I think if you just put yourself in position where you're forcing help, a lot of good things happen from that. And that starts with just getting downhill. And that's something that Ayo has shown he's really good at.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Dave, what do you got for your prove it for Ayo this season?
So I went over all the things that Ayo did. Obviously, he improved on pretty much all those things. So honestly, when I was putting this together, my first thought was just to put wash, rinse, repeat. Like, keep doing what you're doing, young fella. Like, I don't need you to change anything at all. But then I thought about kind of what I've been talking about with the Bulls offense is going to be and what I think is going to look like. And they are going to be the best thing they're going to be is a transition kind of basketball team with a Giddey, with a Kobe, with a Zach, and with an Ayo. That's running. They're going to be in transition. So what do you need to do to be in transition? You need to get rebounds, and you need to be getting up the floor and looking for who's open with you and give them the ball, or you need to be scoring it yourself. So for me, the proof is for Ayo this season were to improve his defensive rebounds and to bring that up, because if he's getting those defensive rebounds, that means that Ayo Dosunmu is getting the ball and he's getting out on the break, and he is running down the floor and getting up for everyone else, man. So for me, I didn't go crazy with it, with his defensive rebounds. I asked him to go to, I that's what I said, 2.5. No, I think those numbers incorrect on that, but that's not your fault. That is my fault.
Oh, no.
Because I guarantee I gave it to you correctly. But I'll roll with that, the 2.5, because the defensive rebounds he had the season before were 2.1. The season before that, it was 2.2. His highest was 2.4. So that's probably why I put that 2.5 right there for his rebounding, because I wanted to go 3 rebounds a game for him to get that defensive lead. But I kind of pulled back a little bit on that. As far as the assists, the 3.6 assists, the most he had in his career was 3.3, and that was his rookie year. So he hasn't had that. This next year he was 2.6, and the year that just occurred he was 3.2. What I found interesting is his turnovers were 1.4, 1.2, and 1.4. Like he doesn't really turn the ball over, but he doesn't have a ton of assists either, you know. But I feel like if he can increase those assist numbers and increase those defensive rebounding numbers, that means he's getting the ball and he's out and he's running and he's looking for guys. And Ayo's a willing passer for sure. Right. Like he enjoys finding guys and he has no problem getting them the ball. But as he has shown us, he has no problem getting the ball and scoring on his own either. So he has already proven that he can be a scorer in this league. He can do those things. Now I want those other parts of his games, numbers-wise, to reflect just what we think about Ayo Dosunmu. So you're getting those boards and you're running, and you're getting those ball and you're getting it out to everybody on the sides of the floor, running down the middle of the paint. I think that'll be an awesome thing for him.
And that's what we talk about when we're saying, like, the Bulls are going to have to change who they are a little bit on offense. They can't be this, like, low, get into the mid-range and create half-court offense like that kind of team anymore without DeRozan. So you do have to manufacture points. I think transition and just grab and go is a great way to do that. And I think it informs what Matt was saying in terms of getting to the foul line too. If you can put pressure on the rim, that's where you get fouls. That's where you create efficient offense. And if you can't do it in the half court, you got to find other ways. So yeah, I really like that one too.
Yeah, and look, your point about the assists and Ayo getting out and running, it makes sense because we know, like, we saw plenty of one-man fast breaks from Ayo last year where it's just like, hey, I see a transition opportunity. The defense looks a little flat on their feet getting back, so I'm just going to go. But again, circling back to maybe a faster-paced offense for the Bulls than we've seen in quite some time coming up this year, maybe having some other horses to run with who are like, okay, if Ayo's out on the break, then I also want to get out on the break. Hopefully a healthy Zach LaVine, maybe even a healthy, capable of running Lonzo. And that is, a quasi version of what we saw in that very successful first half of the 21-22 season was the Bulls accentuating their offense, supplementing their offense with those easy transition and fast break opportunities. And I think wanting Ayo to be always involved in that or involved in it more and as much as possible is a really good call. Somebody in the comments also asked about Ayo dunks. Colin did. How many dunks did I have last year? I just looked that up on B-Ball Ref. He had 20 dunks his rookie year, 9 his second year, and 13 last year.
Sounds about right.
I love an Ayo dunk. That one, was it against the Pacers, that really tight game where he had the ball at the top of the key out of a timeout and just kind of like glanced over at Billy Donovan and then just like boom, like darted around his guy and slammed home that dunk for a game winner. God, that was dope.
Yeah, that's the stuff I love about Ayo, man. Like just I'm not waiting for anybody. You know what I mean? Understanding it's time to go and I'm going to go. And this is the opportunity I have. It's the things we talk about with young players all the time where we're like, dude, there aren't going to be plays drawn up for you. You just got to get it and you got to go. Ayo learned that early. As a rookie, he learned that very, very early that things aren't going to be drawn up for him, but I can still impact this team because as long as it's the right play on the floor, nobody's going to be mad if you make it or you miss it, as long as it's the right play that he's doing. And he's always doing the right play. So I appreciate that about him, man.
Process over results, Dave. You love to hear it.
All right. What do you got, Goat?
I think mine was kind of an extension of just what we saw last year. I want to see him continue to shoot at that same level. And, even if it's a step below where he was towards the end of last year, I mentioned like just under 5 attempts per game after January 13th, shooting 43.5%. Like, I mean, that's just outrageously good. So what I want to see from him this year is shoot 40+% from 3 and attempt 6 threes per 36 minutes.
Okay.
And the
so
reason
how big of
I
a
did
jump
that,
would that be per 36 wise?
So last year it was about
That's
5 per 36 in those final however many games. And I just want to see him continue to get more shots up. Like, I think that's really what will open up his game. And I remember when I did the story talking with Peter Patton at kind of the start of the year last year, he was saying that like so much of like creating offense for guys is just like having that runway to the basket and being able to like make decisions when you have the avenue. And people are going to close out really hard if you're going to shoot 40% on that kind of three. Like, that's considered good high volume shooting. And if you can continue to shoot 40% on those, that's going to make you a really, really dangerous offensive weapon where you're hitting spot up threes and you're also drawing really hard closeouts to where you can get downhill and do the foul drawing stuff to where you can, make the second guy have to slide over, and now you can create the pass opening to the guy in the opposite corner. And that's the kind of thing that I think takes you from like solid role player to like very high end starter. And I feel like you've seen that in guys like Derek White or Drew Holiday, where they've really evolved their game to be high level shooters, and that opens up some other stuff for them. I think Ayo can be in that same mold. I think he's obviously got a ways to go because those guys are incredible champion players, obviously Olympians. But I think that's the kind of mold that you're looking for. And I think a lot of that will start with, because he's not going to have the ball in his hands creating a ton of offense. I think being able to hit those threes when they're available and then attack those closeouts and make plays, that's really what's going to separate him and make him like an invaluable role player for this team, because we like some of these young pieces, right? Like Kobe's great. Modest, we're very excited about him. Patrick Williams, I think he can be a very good role player and hopefully expand his game even further. The Bulls have some nice pieces, but they need to be able to like create space and pace for each other to make the next best play and just continue to put pressure on the rim. Having guys that can get up a high volume of threes and make them at a 40% clip, and then make the next play if they have a hard closeout coming, that's what can really take his game to the next level. And then from there, you start to add in a little bit more shot creation. But for me, this season is going to be about how real was that shooting, that hot shooting stretch that you had. Can you replicate that for a full season and turn up the volume even more? Because I mean, that's a special player. The way that he's defending, the way that he can, create plays off the closeout. When you combine that with really high level, high volume shooting, that's a really important player.
Yeah,
that's an excellent basketball player. Go ahead, man. I'm sorry.
Well, no, I was just going to say, because I was thinking about that myself when I was thinking about my goals for Ayo and the 50% overall and the 40% from three, and maybe asking him to, I think asking him to replicate both of those things is, well, it would be a big ask. And you just talking about bumping up his attempts behind the arc per 36, I think is really strong. It was 4.8 attempts behind the arc for Ayo per 36 minutes this past season. 3.9 per game when his minutes were a few minutes under 36. So I agree with you. Like, other than those transition opportunities, Ayo, with all of these ball handlers the Bulls have, is probably not going to be like initiating a lot of half court sets. So can he be an off ball threat and a guy who knocks those threes down confidently, consistently, and continuing to increase those attempts? And again, talking about this giant DeMar-shaped hole that will be something the Bulls offense has to hurdle this season, or try to, and also still for the last several years crying out and not getting what Bulls fans, or at least I think a good amount of us, have wanted, which is a more modern NBA volume of 3-point shooting on this team. And like DeMar's absence certainly presents that. It's just now about who will be those guys. Also, by the way, right next to Ayo Dosunmu, this team's other reliable 3-point shooter last season, is now gone. His name was Alex Caruso.
Yeah, I'm so with you, because a lot of times last year and the previous couple, it was like, well, if we don't have a great shot, maybe the best alternative is to just get DeMar the ball where he can create something for himself, because that's always going to be a good shot. They're not going to necessarily have that this year. The best shot available might be the semi-contested, spot up three. And that's what I want to see Ayo and Patrick, for that matter, take a lot more of, where they are creating a little bit more, fear in the defense that threes are going to go up this year. And I think that changes the way that teams guard you. And I think that opens up a lot of those driving lanes that we've been talking about. So I think the volume has to go up, both for his sake to be able to just like open up those lanes and score a little bit more, but also for the rest of the team, because I just don't think offense is going to come quite as easy now. At least they won't have that safety valve of like, okay, let's just give it to DeMar and let him create something. I think they're going to have to take maybe a shot that they may have felt slightly uncomfortable with last year, because they thought maybe we could get something better in a couple seconds off the shot clock. That's probably not going to be the case now. So you might have to just get up a few more, but I think that could really be a benefit to the team, because like I said, it'll change the way that defenses have to guard you and open up some other driving lanes for everybody else.
Yeah, well, I like what you're saying is you're talking about, for me, the next step, the next part of Ayo's evolution, which is a little more offense in his game. We like that he improved, 4 points better to the 12 that he got. But if he's improving that to a 15, then we're talking about guys around the league having conversations about Ayo Dosunmu and just the kind of player he is. Then he starts getting in conversations for, if he's coming off the bench, I'm saying, he starts getting in conversations for Sixth Man of the Year. You start looking at him in that kind of way, because everything else we kind of like, we really like about Ayo Dosunmu and his game. So now you just want the numbers to start reflecting those things. And that's what more 3-point shots will do. That's what, as Matt said, getting to the free throw line will do. It'll increase your points per game, because some people won't go beyond the numbers. You know what I'm saying? They'll just look at the ones that are just right there in their face and make their assessment and their judgment off that. And real quick, I just wanted to respectfully correct my man Rob when he says Ayo assist went down because he hit more threes and layups on the breaks. No, his assist actually went up last year. He was at 2.6 the previous season. He went up to about 3.2 assists. And I'm saying I just want them to continue to go up, because that means he's getting everybody involved on the team. And it just means they're playing that transition offense that they're doing. So that's all I'm saying on that one, man. But, nothing but love and respect. To shout out to Rob.
Yeah, we got other fellow Bulls fans in the comments chiming in with the Ayo conversation. Support Chicago Styles and Ayo/Commander Adama on the pick and rolls. Are you asking for Ayo and Adama Sanogo pick and rolls to be heavily featured in the Bulls half court offense? Because good luck finding those, buddy. I mean, maybe in a world where the Bulls find a taker for
February is not far away, guys.
Sanogo maybe gets some
We can
minutes,
dream, can't we? Yeah.
I don't think we're ever going to see Adama Sanogo take the United Center court unless some drastic things ahead of him in the rotation change. Your boy Rob Dave also pointed out that 2 years ago he had no faith in Ayo making a three, especially late in the year, and play it, but now he's got that green light. I think somebody else said, fire away. Colin, Ayo Silver, start chucking those threes up. Yeah, I mean, I think when you talk about 3-point volume, Ayo has to be one of the first names that you point to. It is, also, if he's playing out there, we know that Lonzo was this team's best 3-point shot maker off the ball, even sometimes creating his own opportunities off the dribble. And theoretically, all signs point to Lonzo playing 5-on-5 this summer and being ready to roll. But again, somebody in the comments mentioned we're anticipating a pretty aggressive minutes restriction for Lonzo. So when you're talking about volume of 3-point shots that the Bulls need to get up every game, I mean, Zach LaVine proved to the league you can still hit threes. And then right next to, or maybe right behind that, I'm looking at Ayo for who's going to be knocking down those threes. Obviously Kobe too, but Ayo was a 40% 3-point shooter last season. Kobe was not. I think Kobe's volume was significantly higher than Ayo's as far as attempts per game.
And higher degree of difficulty.
Right, yeah. But still, you need to find some threes.
But it's true. It's true for Patrick. It's true for, Modest Buzalis if he's able to get some minutes. Dalen, Julian, all these guys. Like, the Bulls have not been like they've been in the Stone Age when it comes to, offense the past 3 years. Like they need to up the ante here from 3-point line. And, when they went through that rebuilding phase from 2017 to 2020 and their offense was really bad, I think when you look at teams like that, it's like, what do you have to do? You just have to increase the variance by as much as you possibly can, because that's the great equalizer. That's how you get yourselves in games when you don't have like a steady source of offense that you can lean on. I'm not saying it's going to look like that, because I think this team is obviously way more talented than 2018, 2019 Chicago Bulls. But like, I do think that if they're going to try to keep themselves in games here, 3-pointers are going to be a way to do that. So many times this last 3 years, it was, the Bulls just lost the 3-point battle by 27 points and, oh yeah, they lost. Like they're going to have to get themselves in the game that way, because the 4 factors that they went on, not turning the ball over, getting to the free throw line, and high effective field goal percentage, those are going to be a lot harder to come by. So how do you offset that? You got to get the threes up.
Yeah, they will. They have no other choice. Like,
I think I got a new gray hair every time I asked y'all and our audience last season. So, do you want to guess how many points the Bulls lost by behind the 3-point line tonight? It was a recurring theme. My God,
your arm got stronger as well, man, from tossing those hats as well, sir.
Hey,
so,
I gotta get those
biceps.
I gotta get those workouts in somehow. That's it. So that's one workout, and this is the other one.
There you go. Gray hairs and biceps. The Matt Peck's new album. Featuring Lamar on the way.
Andrew in the comments and saying he wants to see more threes from Patrick Williams and Terry. No, really, he was getting better. I assume that.
No, really, let him shoot.
Terry.
Let him shoot. No, really, let that young man shoot. We'll get into Terry later. Yes, but let him shoot.
We will have a day, or at least a part of a day, dedicated to what we want to see from Taylor Terry this season.
Absolutely.
All right, but with the remainder of our time for today's show, we wanted to move through our Eastern Conference team previews for the upcoming season and talk about the team that finished third in the East regular season record-wise, but once again was bounced early from the playoffs, that being our Central Division foes, our neighbors to the north in that dreaded state of Wisconsin, the Milwaukee Bucks. Weird year for the Bucks guys. Got out to a really strong start, still finished with 49 wins, just one shy of the Knicks for that second seed. But a year after they lose to the Heat in 5 games in the first round, and there was a Giannis injury involved in that, they get bounced by the upstart young Pacers in 6 games in the first round this season. And yes, the Bucks did have some injury issues, and we will get to those in a bit. But taking a look at their regular season numbers, rating-wise, efficiency. So 118.4 offensive rating, good enough for 6th in the NBA last season, and it was a significant improvement from the prior season when they had just the 12th best offense in the NBA. The big problem for the Bucks, as you see that 19th defensive rating rank of theirs, 115.8, that was a giant drop-off from their top 5 defense the season prior, and that 111.9 defensive rating. Middle of the pack, just above the middle of the pack overall net rating this season at plus 2.6. Doc Rivers, not happy. For all of the talk about, Giannis and then the arrival of Dame and whether or not he could fit in, of course, whether or not Chris Middleton has a functioning foot and or knee and or ankle tonight. The big story was the Bucks fire their coach midseason despite the strong start they get off to, and Doc comes in and is like, well, this is a really shitty position for someone to be in. I don't envy myself taking over this job, but it seemed like he was like back channel working his way into that role anyway, and they get bounced in the first round. So weird. Such a weird season for the Bucks. Big Dave, like, what did you make of it when you just said, okay, well, Pacers in 6, bye Bucks, season over?
Look, here's all you have to know about that season, because you mentioned Adrian Griffin. Adrian Griffin got fired, and his record was 30-13.
That's crazy.
And they were like, get out of here. It's not good enough. Now, if I would understand it, that those are firings made for teams that are like winning multiple championships. And you're like, well, he's just not doing good enough for us. We need a better coach. I get that. But you got to remember the year before, you had just got bounced out in the first round. You know what I mean? So Adrian Griffin wasn't. I'm not there. You know what I mean? I'm not following the Bucks like that. I don't know what was going on internally, but when Giannis doesn't want you, then Giannis isn't gonna want you, and the owner is gonna follow what Giannis wants. I like Doc Rivers as a coach. I think having a full season will be better for him because that dude has proven that he can win in this league. He's already proven these things. But yeah, Matt, it's weird. Like, it's nothing but weird going on. You had Damian Lillard. I remember the day they got Damian Lillard, and I came on the show, and I was like, well, you can wrap up the East. We're done here. Like, we're a done deal. You got Dame Lillard and Giannis on the squad. You're fit. We good. You're going to at least the Eastern Conference Finals, if not the championship. Who's going to stop you? Oh, yourself? Yes, yourself. That's who's going to stop you. Injuries definitely played a role. They underestimated how big of a role Drew Holiday was for their team. That was a big deal, honestly.
Speaking of that huge drop-off on their defensive efficiency.
Yes, impacted them greatly, but they thought they could counter it with just the greatness of Dame Lillard. Again, they didn't factor in the mental stability of Dame Lillard, who first time out, he was not comfortable. He was not happy. I still remember when he showed up to a Bulls game just to watch his friends play. I remember how weird that felt just for me because I'm not used to seeing opposing players just show up at the UC to watch a game, unless it was like Giannis to go watch his brother play in the Windy City G League team, but not the UC to watch the NBA game. And I'm like, wow, that's different. It just lets you know how much he was missing home and where he was mentally. I think he's also going to have a better season this year as well. But yeah, Matt, it was weird, and it ended weird because going out to the Pacers like that, it was like I didn't have that, you know what I'm saying, on my book right there. So yeah, a bunch of weird things, and it went out really weird. So that's the team theme right there was weird.
These people are
weird. It was a complete change of identity for them. I mean, you built yourself a title team based on this incredible defense that you're able to insulate the paint with Giannis and Brook Lopez patrolling, and you have like Wes Matthews and Drew Holiday and these guys, Javon Carter, just hounding ball handlers and taking everything away before it can even get started. You go from that to one of the worst defensive point guards in the league in Dame. Yeah, there's going to be a huge drop off there. And so I don't think they were ever really able to figure that out. Certainly, making that trade the night before training camp starts, going through the coaching change, all that stuff, Chris Middleton missing a ton of time, that all hurts it. And I do expect them to be better as a result next year, just having the time to prepare. But they just completely, I think, lost touch with who they were and what made them really good, and figured like we've got potentially the two best players on the team or on the court, no matter who we're playing. And while that's true, I think they just needed a little bit more continuity in order to make that work. And so I do expect them to be better this year, but I don't expect them to have solved all their problems either. I mean, the defense is still not going to be as good as it was. And honestly, like 19th is better than I would have guessed for them because they were just not good enough. And now you've got Chris Middleton having surgery on both ankles in the offseason. Yeah. Brook Lopez is 36 years old. He's going to be 37. Giannis is another year older. And we know with guys like that, as much as he is Hercules, like at a certain point, the athleticism declines. Well, what happens? And I think like a minor downturn with that could really, make him, not to say he's not going to be a great player, but it could just like make him fall off a little bit. And now when you bet the house on we're going to have the best two players, if Giannis is the 10th or 12th best player in the world instead of the second or third, that's a big difference. And so same with Dame. He's getting older too. The window is small. I really like the offseason moves that they had. I think that they set themselves up to, insulate against that, especially on the defensive side. Gary Trent's a very good point of attack defender. Delon Wright is a very good point guard defender. So I think they'll be better, but they just took a huge swing last year in order to really go all in and to make Giannis happy. And it worked. They re-signed him, but they did not get the outcome that they wanted. And I think that they had like some soul searching to do to figure out how they get themselves back to like what the formula for a championship is for them, because 19th in defense is not it.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned their offseason, Goat, and Law, if you want to toss up a quick recap of what the Bucks did this summer. I think a lot of people maybe thought these were underwhelming moves for a team that got bounced out of the first round when they had much greater aspirations coming into the last season. And maybe some people feel like you feel, which like they're not necessarily underwhelming. They're just under the radar because of the Sixers going all in for Paul George. The Celtics re-signing not only Tatum to a fresh max, but paying Derek White a bunch of money to stick around, running back their championship squad, busting open their checkbook. The other elite East teams made splashier moves than this. So the Bucks have their same core, obviously anchored by Giannis and Dame. That you mentioned picking up Gary Trent Jr., also Taurean Prince and DeLon Wright, all signed very modest 1-year deals on veteran, not minimums, but pretty close to it. They pick up A.J. Johnson and Tyler Smith in the draft, first round and second round, respectively. We did talk about Tyler Smith as a sneaky option for the Bulls. He was a draft riser on a lot of people's boards. He ends up falling to the Bucks at 33. I think that's solid value for them, getting him at that spot. And when you talk about departures, like, I'm sorry, none of those players' names, Malik Beasley, Pat Bev, Danilo Gallinari, Jake Crowder, are, I don't think, big losses. Pat Bev is going to play in Israel because everyone in the NBA is sick of him. Danilo Gallinari doesn't have a single functioning bone and or cartilage in his body left. Like, Beasley's And Jay Crowder, when's the last time Jay Crowder played a meaningful minute in an NBA playoff game? Like, where's Jay Crowder? I'll tell you. Well, he's not on an NBA roster right now.
Trying out for the Kings is where he is.
Yo, well, let me ask Will. Will, let me let me ask you why you feel like that. These might be under the radar moves, because I felt they were a little underwhelming when I saw them. I mean, I got Gary Trent Jr. for sure. Like I thought that was an excellent pickup for them. But even the draft pick, I remember when AJ Johnson got drafted, just how little surprised everybody was. They went with that young man, 19 years old, 6'5", length and all that, but very, 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 very raw. And he's going to need some time to develop. But I just saw it as a little underwhelming, and I didn't need the super splashy moves from them or anything like that. But what are you seeing as far as the players that they picked up that you feel like they can have that kind of immediate impact for them?
Yeah, AJ Johnson, I think, is very talented. I think he was really impressive in summer league, and he did not get a chance to play very much. He's super raw, as you said, but very talented. But they passed on a guy like Terrence Shannon or Ryan Dunn, who I think could have stepped in and helped them a little bit more today, which is what you're trying to do when you have Giannis and Dame and Brook Lopez and Chris Middleton on your team. So I was a little surprised by that pick too. I do like Tyler Smith, especially falling into the second round. I think Gary Trent is maybe one of the best value signings of the offseason. He's still young. He's a very high level, high volume, high efficiency 3-point shooter. He's very good at defending at the point of attack. He's good in off ball defensive roles. So I think he gives them basically what you're getting from Malik Beasley offensively, which was high level shot making as kind of a floor spacer, but also now a high level defender. And Malik Beasley was really not good at that last year, but he was their wing stopper. So I think that really helps improve their odds. And same thing for DeLon Wright. He's a veteran. He's very good at taking care of the basketball. He can kind of organize you offensively, but really good at defense too, and just can put pressure on the point guard and take some pressure off of Dame to have to guard those best players. I think that's what you're looking for in role players, is make life easy on, Giannis and Dame at this point. And I think those guys can help do that. So with the way that their books are stacked up, you've got, Giannis at a max, you've got Dame at a max, you've got Lopez making 20+ million, you've got Bobby Portis making 12. There's just not a lot of ways you can improve your team. And so given what they had, I think that was as good an offseason as they possibly could have hoped. I think Taurean Prince is another guy who can just be a 3D wing and help space the floor and guard some of those bigger wings. So I actually really like what they did, and I think it helps neutralize some of their deficiencies. But the problem is that their deficiencies were so bad last year that I think it's going to be a little bit harder than just, oh yeah, you bring in Gary Trent and that solves all your problems. So we'll see. I think they're talented enough to win the East, but I wouldn't expect it just based on the age curve, the injury status, the question marks, the defense. There's a lot of questions with the team, and I think they have the high-end talent and upside to be able to do it, but a lot has to break right for them, and we'll see if that can happen.
Yeah. The deficiencies you mentioned, Will, goes back to what you were talking about earlier, Big Dave, with the big swing that they make is they go and get Dame, last offseason. They pair that superstar with the superstar that they already have in Giannis. And Dave, you were saying you think maybe Dame's being Dame on this team makes up for anything that you might miss with the pieces you lose, the strengths, certain strengths of your team that you lose, that was the cost to bring Dame here. And it's not like Dame had a terrible season. He still put up over 24 points a game, but he did it on just barely 42% shooting from the field and 35% from three. Look, like it's not like Dame is not Steph Curry, but for a lot of years, the league has looked at him as the next best when you're talking about elite 3-point shooting in the NBA. And he's kind of, I'm not saying he's fallen out of that conversation because his volume is ridiculous. So even still shooting 35% on his volume, where he's every season flirting with double digits of 3-point attempts per game. I mean, would you believe me if I told you that precisely one time in Dame's entire NBA career, he's had a season where he shot over 40% from three? 0.401 in the 1920 season. So it's like, even if Dame ain't shooting 40%, it's still like, well, Dame will go be Dame, especially in those clutch moments. Fourth quarter, tight game. Dame buries a big three. It's like, Dame was good last season, but he wasn't the Dame they traded for. And I think that is basically the start and end of it when you're talking about whether or not the Bucks are going to be real championship contenders next season.
Yeah, and Fish brings up a good point. I give him a pass. He was going through a divorce last year and a trade. That's not cool or fun. Totally agree. Like that's a huge personal change for him to go from 10 plus years with one organization being, one of the best players in franchise history, the icon, the legend, the guy whose team it was, to now going to play with a guy who's better than you and to change your style of play and new defensive system. They had Terry Stotts in there as one of the assistant coaches to Adrian Griffin. They fire him before the season starts. That was Dame's former coach in Portland. So just a lot of change. And I don't, you can make excuses for guys at the end of the day. They need to perform, but I do think this was a tough situation for anybody. And I do expect him to be a little bit better next year.
Yeah, I do too.
Well, yeah, we'll see. Because like the top of the East is getting kind of crowded in a weird way. Like obviously Boston's there. Philly makes the big move for Paul George, but now it's like, this Knicks team is for real. This Pacers team is for real. So penciling Milwaukee in as a 2 or 3 seed is not necessarily as automatic as it has been in years past in the Giannis era. So very curious to see what we see for the Bucks this upcoming season.
Especially like the Chris Middleton thing. I feel like people are aware of this, but not really talking about how much it impacts them. Like 2 ankle surgeries in the offseason.
Yeah. Brutal.
That's just tough. I hope he's able to get back.
Do them things. That is it for today. That is it for this week. Everybody, hit that like button on your way out if you haven't done it yet and you're watching on YouTube. We appreciate it. It helps us out a lot. Make sure you also subscribe to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. All of our other channels. Go listen and watch the 85 with Cole Kmet. Bears season. We got Bears week 2 Sunday night. Everybody enjoy that. In the meantime, goats at Will_Golly, Big Dave Bow, BWL Sports. I'm Bulls_Peck. We are CHGO_Bulls. Shout out and thanks to our guy Law on the draw. Running the controls behind the scenes. Have a great weekend, Bulls Nation. We love you. We appreciate you. We'll talk to you Monday. See you, Red. Be good.
We all silly like the mayor.